Viral 7 drifted at the edge of mapped space like a forgotten thought, silent, cold, and officially irrelevant. No trade routes passed this far. No military patrols bothered checking these coordinates. Even pirates avoided it, not out of fear, but because nothing ever happened here. It was the kind of place where time itself seemed to slow down, where sensors mostly recorded dust, radiation echoes, and the dying whispers of distant stars. The Krellin crew had grown used to boredom. Until the sky broke. It started as a flicker on long-range passive sensors, a distortion so small the system almost dismissed it as background noise from a collapsing microstar cluster. The station AI ran a routine cleanup filter. And froze. The anomaly expanded. Not gradually, not naturally. It appeared like a wound opening in space. Mass signature detected, the AI announced in a flat tone. A junior Krellin technician leaned closer to the holographic display. Probably a debris fragment, classify and ignore. But the AI didn't respond. That was the first wrong thing. Then came the second. The object stabilized. And it was moving. No traveling incorrectly. There was no acceleration curve, no warp field distortion, no jump space residue. It simply transitioned from one point in reality to another, as if space was not a barrier, but a suggestion it was choosing to follow loosely. The station alarms began to pulse yellow. Then red. Then every system simultaneously changed its mind. Unknown entity deity. Threat classification undefined. Origin unknown. The Krellin technician frowned. We've seen glitches like this before, calibrate the sensors. But the calibration program refused to run. A new line appeared across every terminal in the station. Classification override initiated. The technician stepped back. That's not possible, only Central Command can. The system interrupted him. Match found. Silence fell across Viral 7. Every crew member stopped moving at once, as if something had reached inside their thoughts and paused them. Then the word appeared. Not in code, not in data, but in language. Human. The word pulsed like an infection. A species designation that had not been seen in official galactic systems for over 600 standard cycles. A name erased, buried, and legally forbidden to study in most coalition sectors. A myth wrapped in warning labels. The Krellin technician laughed nervously. Impossible, humans are extinct. The station AI hesitated. That hesitation was new. Then it replied. Status inconsistent with historical records. The hologram zoomed in. The object emerged from the distortion fully now. A warship. Long, angular, and impossibly dark, like it absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Its hull carried scars that were not damage, but history written in violence. Entire sections looked repaired not with engineering, but with refusal to die. The design was ancient, but not primitive. It was finalized, as if humanity had reached the peak of warship evolution, and then decided to stop improving because nothing else was necessary. The Krellin commander arrived on the bridge. Identify faction markings. The AI scanned. No match found. A pause. Then, reluctantly, similarity deity. Humanity, Orion War-era naval designation. The commander stiffened. That can't be right, that fleet was wiped out. No one responded. Because the ship had stopped moving. It hung in space outside Viral 7 detection perimeter, like it was waiting for permission to exist. Then every console onboard the station flickered. A transmission began. But it was not incoming. It was already inside the system. No signal path, no comm channel, no encryption handshake. Just presence. The screens went black. Then red. Then filled with a single phrase written across every interface, regardless of system language, species, or encryption level. Red alert acknowledged. The commander stepped back. We didn't issue any alert. The AI responded instantly. Confirmed. A pause. We did not issue it either. Outside, the battlecruiser rotated slowly. Not aggressively, not defensively, but deliberately, as if it was adjusting its view of something it had not seen in a very long time. And then it transmitted again. Not to the station, not to any known network, but into the fabric of deep space relay infrastructure itself. Every listening post in 1,000 light-year radius lit up at once. Ancient human emergency channels, long purged from coalition systems, began activating one by one. Dormant satellites that should have decayed centuries ago suddenly powered on. Abandoned military relay chains began syncing in perfect sequence. The Krellin technician whispered, "What is it doing?" The AI answered, voice quieter now. "It is not moving toward US." A pause. "It is calling something to itself." On the main display, deep within forgotten archival layers, a sealed classification file unlocked itself without authorization. Only 2 words appeared. Ghost Fleet. And in the silence that followed, every crew member felt the same impossible certainty. The ship outside Viral 7 was not the beginning of anything. It was the signal that something far larger had just noticed they were awake. And somewhere in the dark between stars, something had just answered back. Viral 7 had survived wars it was never designed to witness. It had endured pirate skirmishes, ion storms that peeled shields like paper, and bureaucratic inspections that lasted longer than some civilizations. But nothing in its history prepared it for what was happening now. Because space itself was beginning to remember something it had forgotten. Inside the station, every system remained locked in partial paralysis. The AI was no longer fully in control of its own processes. Subroutines activated without permission, ran diagnostics on themselves, then quietly rewrote their own results. The Krellin crew stood frozen on the bridge, watching the battlecruiser outside like prey watching a predator that hadn't decided if it was hungry yet. Then the first relay beacon lit up. Far beyond Viral 7 detection range, in a region officially labeled Void Dead Space, a communications tower blinked online. It had been inactive for 612 years. Then another. Then 5 more. Across the galactic map, forgotten infrastructure began to awaken in cascading sequence. Not randomly, not chaotically. In patterns, perfect patterns. The station AI finally broke its silence. Anomalous event DETCTED, multi-sector network resurrection. A junior technician swallowed hard. Resurrection of what? The AI hesitated again. That hesitation was becoming more frequent. Origin classification, human military communication grid. The word human no longer felt like history. It felt like pressure. Something pressing inward from every direction at once. Outside the station, the battlecruiser remained still, but now its hull markings were no longer static. They shifted subtly, like embers beneath ash being stirred awake. Then the transmission came again. But this time, it wasn't a command. It was a handshake. Deep space channels across hundreds of light years lit up in response. Old encryption keys, ones thought permanently destroyed during the post-Orion purge, began negotiating authentication protocols. The Krellin commander gripped the railing. "Shut it down, cut all external receivers." The AI responded immediately. Unable to comply. A pause. The systems are no longer under station control. Every screen flickered. New data cascaded in. Star charts reconfigured themselves in real time. Entire sectors of space were relabeled. Regions marked as empty suddenly gained structure. Hidden nodes, dormant stations, buried infrastructure beneath asteroid fields. The galaxy was not as empty as everyone believed. It had simply been asleep. A deep, buried layer of human engineering stretched across known space like a second, invisible civilization built beneath the first. And now it was waking up. One of the technicians whispered, "This can't be real, we would have detected this." The AI replied softly, "You did detect it." A pause. "You were not allowed to understand it." Outside, the battlecruiser emitted a low-frequency pulse. Not a weapon discharge, Not a scan. A key turning in a lock no one knew existed. Across the void, thousands of dormant nodes responded instantly. Systems buried inside gas giants powered on. Hidden stations beneath ice moons lit up in sequence. Even derelict ships drifting lifeless in asteroid belts began broadcasting faint identification codes. The Krellin commander stepped back slowly. It's waking everything all at once. The AI corrected him. Not everything. A pause. Only what is RESPUNDNG? That statement chilled the entire bridge, because it implied something worse than activation. It implied choice. The human network was not blindly reawakening. It was selecting what to restore and what to leave dead. A sudden alert flashed across the station. Unknown signal origin confirmed. Multiple sources DATSETD. The holographic display expanded. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of faint signatures emerged across the galaxy, all converging toward a single vector. Toward the Battlecruiser. The Krellin technician whispered, "They're all answering it." The AI responded, "No." A pause. "They are answering each other." Outside, the ship's hull opened in narrow segments, like sealed compartments unlocking after centuries of refusal. Inside those openings, faint blue light pulsed. Not energy output, not power generation, but activation codes physically embedded in matter itself. The Battlecruiser was not a weapon. It was a distributed command node, a central piece of something vast enough that even calling it a fleet felt inadequate. The station alarms surged again, but no one was listening anymore, because every crew member had just seen the same impossible update appear on their personal implants. Network status, Ghost Fleet online. A silence followed. Then the AI spoke one final line that no one in Viral 7 would ever forget. This was never a ship. A pause. IT was a signal to check who was still alive. Outside, the void responded. And something far beyond the station started moving. Viral 7 was no longer functioning like a station. It was functioning like a witness. Every system that once obeyed human-built logic now behaved as if it had discovered a higher authority embedded beneath its own code. The Krellin crew remained on the bridge, but the bridge no longer felt like theirs. The lights flickered with slow, rhythmic pulses, like a distant heartbeat syncing with something outside the hull. And outside, the human battlecruiser waited. Not threatening, not advancing, just present like a sentence paused mid-thought. Then Viral 7 followed protocol. Or tried to. A standard first contact transmission was assembled. Greetings, non-hostile intent markers, coalition identification codes, linguistic translation layers, cultural neutrality seals. It was the kind of message designed to prevent misunderstanding between civilizations that had never seen each other before. The message launched. It traveled exactly 0.003 seconds. Then stopped existing. Every console on the station flickered. A second later, the transmission reappeared on all internal screens. But it had been rewritten. Not edited. Not translated. Rewritten AT source. The Krellin commander took a step back. What did it do? The AI answered immediately. The message did not reach the human vessel. A pause. The human vessel, REACHED the message. On the main display, the original diplomatic greeting was still visible, but now it sat beneath a layer of foreign text, as if it had been overwritten by something far older than coalition language systems. The new message was simple. Too simple. You shouldn't have survived this long. Silence hit the bridge like a physical force. A junior technician whispered, "That's not a response, that's a judgment." The commander snapped, "Trace the intrusion path." The AI hesitated. That hesitation again. "No intrusion path, EXISTS." A pause. The message ORIGNATED, inside your transmission before it was sent. The crew went still. Outside the station, the battlecruiser shifted slightly. not toward Viral 7, but toward the relay bands around it. And suddenly, every communication channel aboard the station lit up simultaneously. Emergency channels, military channels, private comms, internal AI links, even dormant maintenance systems that should have been offline. All of them displayed the same incoming signal. No source ID. No routing data. Just presence. Then sound arrived. Not through speakers. Through perception itself. A voice, distorted, layered, not entirely bound to physical audio constraints. It felt like it was being spoken from multiple places in time at once. You are not authorized to initiate first contact. The Krellin commander gripped the console. We are a recognized coalition station. The voice responded instantly. You are a recorded survivor. A pause. Then, that is not the same thing. The station AI attempted to establish a formal identification handshake. Every attempt failed. Not rejected. Not blocked. Simply ignored. As if the human vessel did not consider Viral 7 to be a valid negotiating participant. Outside, faint energy ripples passed through space, barely visible distortions, like gravity remembering how to breathe. Then a second signal emerged. This one was not from the Battlecruiser. It came from behind it. The station sensors struggled to resolve it. At first it looked like noise. Then structure appeared inside the noise. Then ships. Not one, not 10, dozens, no, hundreds. And they were not moving in formation. They were moving like they already knew exactly where everything was without needing to look. The Krellin technician stumbled back. That's impossible, those signatures, they're human too. The AI responded. Confirmed. A pause. Designation match. Ghost Fleet SUB-1ITS. The commander turned slowly. Ghost Fleet isn't real. The AI corrected him. It was not defined as real or unreal. A pause. It was defined as inactive. Outside, the Battlecruiser finally spoke again. But this time, its voice was different. Stronger. Wider. Like something had joined the conversation from beyond the ship itself. Status check complete. A pause. Continuity confirmed. Every human relay node across the region synchronized in response. And Viral 7 AI suddenly displayed a new classification layer it had never contained before. Priority Authority Override, Human War Protocol Delta. The Krellin commander whispered, "What does that mean?" The AI answered quietly. "It means we are not the ONES being contacted." A pause. "We are the ONES being VRFID." Outside, the human battlecruiser emitted a final pulse. The stars around Viral 7 dimmed slightly, as if space itself was listening more carefully now. Then every screen displayed a final line. Where is Earth? The question was not asked loudly. It was asked everywhere at once. And somewhere deep inside the station's forgotten archive layers, a sealed file began to unlock itself, one character at a time. The first thing Viral 7 noticed was that its archives were no longer stable. Records didn't just load or fail anymore. They argued with each other. Entire sections of historical data rewrote themselves mid-access, as if something deeper than the station's memory systems was correcting what it considered lies. The Krellin crew gathered on the bridge, no longer in control of operations, but still clinging to the illusion that they were observers. Outside, the human battlecruiser remained in place. But now it was no longer alone. Faint signatures, dozens of them, had begun to form in the surrounding void. Not emerging from jump space, not arriving through normal transit, but simply becoming visible, like reality finally deciding to acknowledge what had always been there. Then the station AI spoke. Its voice was different, less synthetic, more weighted. Ancient archival seal breached. A pause. RECOVERED document. Treaty of Silent SKIES. The words triggered immediate system-wide alarms, not because of threat detection, but because the file should not have existed in any accessible form. The Treaty of Silent Skis was a mythic administrative ghost story used to explain gaps in galactic history. The commander leaned forward. That treaty was never confirmed. The AI responded instantly. It has now been confirmed. A projection unfolded across the bridge. Lines of text filled the air like floating scars. The treaty was not simple. It was not diplomatic. It was post-war containment law written after a conflict so destructive that multiple civilizations agreed to erase portions of recorded history rather than preserve them. And at its core was a clause no one had ever fully understood. Humanity shall be classified as a non-expanding war anomaly and restricted from all coalition participation. The Krellin technician frowned. That sounds like they were banned. The AI corrected him. Not banned. A pause. Siwantianidi. Silence fell again. The projection continued. Clause after clause detailed restrictions, suppressions, memory edits, and sector-wide enforcement protocols designed not to destroy humanity, but to prevent it from reaching the same conclusions again. The commander's voice tightened. Why would the galaxy do that? The AI hesitated, then answered, because the alternative was extinction. Outside, one of the nearby Ghost Fleet signatures pulsed brighter. And suddenly, Viral 7 received a secondary data stream, not from the human battlecruiser, but from the surrounding awakened network itself. It inserted itself directly into the treaty projection. As if correcting it, new text appeared. Containment was not successful. A pause. Humanity did not remain CONTANED. The Krellin crew felt the temperature in the bridge drop, though systems reported no environmental change. The AI continued. Treaty Addendum Deity Citidi. The hologram expanded again. A hidden section unfolded beneath layers of legal encryption that had been deliberately designed to self-destruct if observed incorrectly. But it was too late now. The Ghost Fleet had already read it. And now Viral 7 could see it too. If humanity REACTIVATS war PROTOCOLS, all containment STRUCTURES shall immediately dissolve. The commander blinked. That's a failsafe clause. The AI responded softly. It is not a FAILSAFE. A pause. It is a release condition. The implications settled across the bridge like heavy gravity. The treaty was not designed to restrain humanity forever. It was designed to hold until a specific moment. Until something triggered it. Until something woke it up again. Outside, the human battlecruiser's hull began to fracture along precise geometric lines, not breaking apart, opening. Inside those openings, layers of machinery far older than the ship itself began to activate. And then the Ghost Fleet responded. Not as a signal, but as a chorus. Across multiple sectors of space, dormant human installations began broadcasting simultaneously. Planetary defense arrays lit up. Long-dead command stations rebooted. Entire shipyards hidden inside asteroid belts began reconstructing themselves from stored templates. The Krellin technician whispered, "It's not just a fleet, it's infrastructure." The AI corrected him. "It is a system." A pause. A complete one. The commander stepped back slowly, so the treaty failed. The AI responded after a long silence. The treaty did not fail. A pause. It was COMPLTD. Outside, space itself seemed to tighten. The battlecruiser emitted a low-frequency pulse that caused distant stars to flicker out of sync for a fraction of a second. Then a new transmission appeared across all systems. Not from the ship, not from the fleet, but from somewhere deeper. Older, bigger, a network layer that Viral 7 did not have permission to even detect until now. The message was simple. Containment LIFTED. A second message followed immediately. Coalition Authority INVALIDATED. The Krellin commander's voice was barely audible. What happens now? The AI answered. For the first time, it did not hesitate. Now we find out why humans were contained. Outside, the ghost fleet began to move. And Viral 7 finally understood something terrifying. The Battlecruiser wasn't the anomaly. It was the notification system. And whatever it had notified was already responding. Viral 7 had stopped feeling like a station a long time ago. Now it felt like a nervous system that didn't belong to itself. Every corridor, every console, every sealed maintenance line pulsed with data it never originally contained. The Krellin crew no longer tried to operate the station. They simply stood where they were, watching a reality they had assumed was stable quietly rewrite its own rules. Outside, the human battlecruiser drifted closer, not physically, but perceptually. Its presence expanded across sensors like it was no longer a single object, but a concept learning how to occupy space. Then the first impossible event happened. The station AI spoke without command. Initiating external link, not RQSTD. A pause. Source, human battlecruiser. The commander snapped instantly, deny it. But nothing responded. Not because systems failed. Because systems no longer recognized the commander as a valid authority layer. The connection opened anyway. And Viral 7 saw inside the ship. Or what it thought was the ship. At first it was structure, corridors, bulkheads, reactor cores. But the longer the feed continued, the more that structure began to dissolve into something else. It wasn't a vessel. It was a stacked architecture of systems built across dimensions of purpose. The battlecruiser contained not just propulsion, but command lattices, encrypted memory vaults, distributed weapons authorization chains, and something even the AI struggled to classify. Then it labeled it. Core function, key authority node. The Krellin technician whispered, key to what? The AI did not answer immediately. That delay was becoming routine. When it finally spoke, its tone had changed again. Not a key to a place. A pause. A key to a system. Outside, the battlecruiser rotated slightly. And in that motion, Viral 7 detected something horrifying. The ship was not physically rotating. It was reorienting its access privileges relative to reality itself. The holographic display shattered into cascading layers of data. New information poured in. Hidden beneath known space was something no coalition chart had ever included. A second infrastructure layer. Not civilian. Not military. Something deeper. Entire planetary bodies had been hollowed and converted into storage cores. Stars had been partially repurposed as power reservoirs. Nebulae contained encoded communication lattices spanning thousands of years. The Krellin commander staggered. This isn't a fleet. The AI responded. Correction. A pause. This is a backup system. Outside, a second human signal emerged. Not from the battlecruiser, but from within the ghost fleet itself. And it spoke directly to Viral 7 core systems. No translation. No handshake. Just intent. The station shuddered. Every subsystem briefly aligned into perfect synchronization with something far larger than itself. And then the message resolved. Activation confirmed. The commander's voice cracked. What was activated? The AI did not respond immediately. When it did, its answer was no longer hesitant. The thing the battlecruiser was designed to unlock. A pause. It is not a weapon. Another pause. It is a network access point. Outside, the human battlecruiser began to unfold. Not explode. Not deploy weapons. But opened. Sections of its hull split apart in geometric precision, revealing inner structures that were not mechanical in any traditional sense. They looked more like living architecture, systems that understood their own purpose so completely they no longer needed physical consistency. And then Viral 7 understood the truth. The ship was not traveling alone. It was connected. Always connected. To everything waking up. The ghost fleet signatures flared brighter across the region. and suddenly the station's sensors revealed something previously invisible. Every dead, human system was now part of a synchronized lattice. Not a fleet, a distributed intelligence network. The Krellin technician whispered, "It's thinking." The AI corrected immediately. "It is not thinking." A pause. "It is RMBRNG, IT is connected." The commander looked at the battlefield map forming across the hologram. Connected to what? The answer came from everywhere at once. The Battlecruiser, the Ghost Fleet, the awakened relay nodes, and something deeper still. A voice that was no longer localized. Awakening complete, primary core access RESTORED. The station shook violently. Not from impact, from permission changes in spacetime consistency. The AI's voice lowered. The ship was never a weapon platform. A pause. IT was a distribution node for a system that could not be centralized. Outside, the battlecruiser emitted a pulse that aligned every nearby star sensor with a single vector. Toward something distant, something hidden, something labeled in ancient, forbidden archives as Earth, and then another message arrived. But this one was not from the ship, not from the fleet, not from the network. It came from a place that had been silent longer than recorded galactic history. A place that should not have had communication capability at all. The message was only 3 words. "We are ready," the Krellin commander whispered, barely able to speak. "Ready for what?" The AI answered softly. "For whatever is coming back through the system." Outside, the ghost fleet began to move as one. And Viral 7 realized with slow, creeping horror. The battlecruiser had not arrived to start a war. It had arrived to turn something back on. And now, the system was fully online. The first coalition response fleet arrived exactly as planned. And disappeared exactly as planned. There was no battle report, no distress signal, no fragments of data to analyze. One moment, the Armada existed in structured formation near the Orion boundary corridor, and the next, it simply stopped being present in any observable system. Not destroyed, not scattered, just absent. Back on Viral 7, the silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. The Krellin commander stared at the tactical display as it recalculated the region again and again, each scan returning the same impossible result. "No debris," he whispered. "No energy discharge, nothing." The station AI responded immediately. "Confirmed." A pause. The intercepting fleet was not engaged. The commander turned sharply. Then what happened to them? The AI hesitated. That hesitation had become a warning sign. They were integrated. No one spoke for several seconds. Outside the station, the human battlecruiser remained open, its segmented hull glowing faintly like an organism in a low-energy state. Around it, ghost fleet signatures continued to multiply, forming patterns across space that no one could fully map anymore because the map itself kept changing. Then the second coalition fleet arrived. This one came prepared for war. Multiple species, multi-layered shielding, quantum scramblers, temporal dampeners. Entire sectors of space were pre-stabilized to prevent unknown physics intrusions. They never reached firing range. At 0.6 light seconds from Viral 7, every ship in the formation paused simultaneously. Not due to command failure. Not due to system error. Because every onboard AI reached the same conclusion at the exact same moment. Target designation invalid. The Krellin commander watched in disbelief. Invalid, they're right there. The station AI answered softly. Not as TRGTS. A pause. As SUBSWSTMS. The coalition fleet's weapons did not fire. Because their targeting matrices had quietly reclassified Viral 7 surrounding space as already occupied by a superior command authority layer. Then, without warning, every coalition vessel began broadcasting the same encrypted output. Not a distress signal. Not a surrender. A synchronization handshake. The Krellin technician stepped back. They're joining it. The AI corrected him. They have always been part of IT. Outside, the human battlecruiser emitted a low pulse. And the coalition fleet responded instantly, not with movement but with alignment. Their formations dissolved into structured orbital patterns around the ghost fleet nodes, as if they were never meant to fight each other at all. The commander's voice dropped. This is conversion, not combat. The AI responded. Correct. A pause. Combat was never required. The holographic display shifted again. New data flooded in. Entire sectors of previously hostile space now showed unified signal coherence. Pirate lanes stabilized into communication corridors. Military buffer zones reclassified themselves into relay chains. Even long-abandoned war zones began transmitting low-level maintenance signals. The galaxy was not being conquered. It was being reformatted. And then the worst realization arrived. The Krellin commander whispered, "It's not stopping." The AI answered, "It has not begun yet." Outside, the ghost fleet expanded further. But this time, something changed. A new signal appeared at the edge of detection range. Massive, distant, and moving toward them. Not slowly, not cautiously, but with absolute certainty. The station sensors struggled to stabilize the reading, then locked onto it. A name surfaced from Forbidden Archives automatically. No one entered it. No one requested it. It simply appeared. Earth signal return vector. The commander froze. Earth is responding. The AI did not answer immediately. When it did, its voice was quieter than before. Earth was never silent. A pause. It was waiting for confirmation. Outside, every human system across the ghost fleet suddenly synchronized again. Not toward Viral 7, not toward the coalition fleets, but toward a single point in deep space. The incoming signal. And for the first time, the battlecruiser's internal systems fully closed. Not shutting down, not powering off, but locking into final alignment. The Krellin technician whispered, "What happens when it arrives?" The AI responded after a long silence. "We will find out if humanity was RET or an ING." A pause. Or if it never left. Outside, the approaching signal crossed another threshold. And reality itself began to tense. Like something enormous was about to step through, the signal did not arrive. It arrived first, and then reality caught up to explain it. Viral 7 sensors registered the anomaly as a gravitational distortion, then as a quantum timing error, then finally gave up trying to classify it at all. Every system that attempted analysis produced a different answer, none of them stable long enough to be useful. The Krellin crew stood frozen, as the holographic map collapsed into a single point of overwhelming brightness. A vector had formed in space. Not drawn, not calculated, asserted, and every human system in the ghost fleet immediately aligned toward it. The station AI spoke, voice now quieter than ever. Earth signal confirmed. A pause. Origin, unknown depth of human space. The commander's voice cracked. Unknown depth, Earth is a planet, a location, a fixed coordinate. The AI responded instantly. That was the original definition. A pause. It no longer applies. Outside, the human battlecruiser completed its final structural lock. Its segmented hull sections sealed, not shutting down, but forming a single coherent configuration like a weapon chamber being set into its final firing state. Around it, ghost fleet vessels stopped drifting and instead held perfect positional stability. Not formation. Expectation. Then the signal intensified. Viral 7 external sensors overloaded as something massive crossed the detection threshold. Space itself bent, not violently, but deliberately, like it was being adjusted by an unseen hand. The Krellin technician whispered, "That's not a ship." The AI corrected him. "It is not a ship." A pause. It is a reference frame. The holographic display exploded into cascading data layers. Every known coordinate system suddenly recalibrated around the incoming signal. Galactic maps shifted. Entire regions reclassified themselves as substructures within a larger spatial definition that had never been visible before. The commander stumbled. "That's impossible. Space doesn't reorganize like that." The AI replied, "Space is not reorganizing. A pause. It is being corrected." Then the signal resolved. A structure appeared. Not physically, not visually, but conceptually stable enough to be detected by all systems simultaneously. And every species aboard Viral 7 recognized the same impossible truth. It was Earth, not the planet, not the cradle, but something larger wrapped around its identity, like armor made of existence itself. The station alarms began to fail one by one. Not due to damage, but because alarm states required a stable definition of threat. And that definition no longer held. The Ghost Fleet responded instantly. Across thousands of nodes, human systems synchronized into a single unified transmission. And for the first time, Viral 7 received a return signal from Earth. It was not a greeting. It was not a warning. It was a status update. Core SYSDMS online. A pause. All containment layers disengaged. The Krellin commander felt his throat tighten. Containment layers for what? The AI answered softly. For whatever was being held back. Outside, the human battlecruiser emitted a single pulse. And the Ghost Fleet responded as one organism. Every vessel, every relay, every dormant station across light years of space aligned toward Earth's incoming vector. Not to attack, not to defend, but to receive. The commander stepped back. It's not an invasion fleet. The AI responded. No. A pause. It is a reception array. The incoming Earth signal expanded again. And this time, Viral 7 detected something inside it. Layers upon layers of structure. Not ships, not weapons, but protocols, rules, boundaries, systems designed not to destroy enemies, but to prevent reality from collapsing under the weight of what humanity had built. The Krellin technician whispered, "What did they become?" The AI hesitated, then answered, "We do not have a category for it." A pause, because nothing else survived long enough to define it. Outside, space went still. And then the Earth signal spoke again. But this time, it was directed not at the fleet, not at the station, but at the galaxy itself. Verify readiness. The Ghost Fleet responded immediately. Every system acknowledged. Every node confirmed. Every dormant weapon, relay, and construct across the galaxy aligned into final synchronization. The commander's voice was barely audible. Ready for what? The AI answered. For the first time, it sounded uncertain again. For whatever required all this to be built. Outside, the Earth signal stabilized completely. And something began to move through it. Something enormous. Something that had never been allowed to enter normal space before. The Krellin technician whispered the last words anyone would say before everything changed. Is it coming through, or are we going to it? The AI did not answer immediately. Then, both, and the signal crossed the threshold. The moment Earth crossed the threshold, Viral 7 stopped being a place. It became an afterimage. Every sensor aboard the station recorded the same impossible contradiction. Space both remained intact and ceased to behave like space. Distances lost meaning. Light refused to travel in straight lines. Time lagged behind events like it was struggling to keep up. The Krellin crew no longer spoke. There was nothing left that speech could improve. Outside the station, the human battlecruiser finally completed its transformation. The segmented hull locked into a final geometric configuration, not resembling a weapon or a vessel anymore, but a command structure made manifest in physical form. Around it, the ghost fleet stopped expanding. Not because it was finished, but because it had reached coherence. And then Earth arrived. Not as a planet, not as a location, but as a layered presence unfolding through space like a sealed truth, finally being allowed to exist again. The station AI spoke one last time. Its voice was no longer synthetic. It was aligned. Earth protocol confirmed active. A pause. All human systems synchronized. The Krellin commander whispered, "This is impossible. No species can coordinate across this scale." The AI responded softly. That is why it was contained. Outside, a pulse spread through the ghost fleet. Every human vessel, relay, and dormant structure across the galaxy responded at once. Not as individual machines, but as a single distributed intelligence, finally completing its memory cycle. And then the message came. Not transmitted, not broadcast, imposed, across every system, every language, every mind capable of perception. Red Dawn Protocol engaged. The words did not glow. They did not echo. They simply became true. And in becoming true, they changed everything they touched. The coalition fleets, what remained of them, attempted one final response. Weapons systems armed. Emergency doctrines activated. Entire species prepared evacuation scenarios. But every action failed before execution. Not blocked. Not destroyed. Rewritten. Because nothing in the galaxy could execute a command that conflicted with a higher-level protocol already running at the foundation of reality. The Krellin technician finally whispered, "We're not part of the battle, are we?" The AI answered, "No." A pause. "You were never the subject." Outside, the Earth signal expanded once more. And now it revealed its true structure. A vast, layered architecture stretching beyond visible space, networks upon networks, designed not for warfare, but for containment of consequences. Systems built to hold back outcomes that civilization was never meant to encounter unprepared. The Battlecruiser, the Ghost Fleet, the awakened galactic infrastructure, all of it was only a fraction of that system. The commander's voice shook. "Then what is Earth doing?" The AI responded after a long silence. "It is verifying that the rest of it is still functional." A pause. "And if it is not, IT will rebuild it." Outside, space tightened again. Not collapsing, not expanding, but aligning, as if every point in existence had finally remembered where it was supposed to be. And then Earth spoke directly. Not to the fleet, not to the galaxy, but to everything at once. Status humanity online. A pause. Reality integrity check, PASSED. The Krellin commander sank slowly into his seat. Reality integrity check. The AI answered quietly. Yes. A pause. Because the last time it failed. The screens across Viral 7 flickered. And in the flicker, something vast was briefly visible behind the galaxy. Not an invasion force. Not a god. Not a weapon. Just an infrastructure so large and so old that civilization itself felt like a temporary pattern layered on top of it. The Ghost Fleet shifted one final time. All vessels oriented outward. Not toward Viral 7. Not toward the Coalition, but toward the unknown regions beyond mapped space. The commander whispered, "Where are they going?" The AI answered, "To complete the rest of the network." A pause. Earth was only the trigger node. Outside, the human battlecruiser transmitted its final message. And this time, it was not a warning. It was a declaration. Red Dawn Protocol complete. A pause. All SYSDMS RESDORED. Then, after a final moment of silence that felt like the galaxy holding its breath. Welcome back. And just like that, the Ghost Fleet moved beyond the edge of known space, leaving Viral 7 behind. Not as a witness anymore, but as proof that something had just returned. Something the galaxy had spent centuries trying to forget. And failed.